Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us here in Optica, Reflective Faith and Latinidad, where week after week we invite you to open your eyes and see what God is doing. Today's episode is going to be, I hope, a blessing to you. I know it's something I wrestle with, and people have sent us messages here at Pastor Salguero on many of our social media platforms asking about this. And here's the question. It's one of my big questions is, why can't I rest? I mean, really, what's wrong with me? True story. Please don't laugh at me. Or if you laughed, just don't tell me you laughed. When I'm sleeping, my body actually jumps out of the bed. Even when I'm sleeping, my body's moving. Now, I don't know why that is. You'd probably have to ask my neurologist or my psychologist or my wife or my kids. But aside from like real physiological and psychological challenges that people may face, and for that we need physicians or mental health practitioners, I want to talk about a much more quotidian or real life thing is why some of us are always busy and we can't find rest, or we don't even look for rest. It's not that we can't find it. We don't even look for it. We need to fill every waking hour of our day with something to do. That's right. If you're one of those people, I see you. You know why I see you? Because it was, for much of my life, me. I think I'm changing. Maybe it's because I'm getting older. Don't tell anybody, but I'm 50. I'm on the 5th floor of this elevator. And maybe at 50, that second half of life, you reflect on, hey, do I need to be so busy? Do I need to fill every waking hour of my day with something to do? And now, look, this is important because we need to have a work ethic. You've seen in my previous episode, The Death of Effort, which I strongly recommend, that we need to have work, and then that there's sometimes a death of work ethic. But the other extreme is also dangerous. You might remember that the Lord told Israel in Exodus 20, remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. Right? Remember that in the creation narrative of Genesis, God rested, giving us an example of the rhythms of rest and work. And look, I'm just going to illuminate a few things. If it speaks to you, okay. If it's not you, share it with somebody you think might bless. But here's some of the reasons where we might be restless. One of them, I think I had to struggle with in my younger years, and I'm constantly paying attention to that, is our goal to achieve. I always need to achieve something. And achievement in and of itself is not bad. I want to say that. Achievement in and of itself is not bad. But when our self-worth and our sense of self-importance is based on achievement, we're always working to prove ourselves. Working. Because we think that our value rests in our achievement. And that produces busyness and restlessness. When our sense of self-worth and value is based on our achievement, that produces restlessness and busyness. You might remember that Jesus himself was affirmed in the baptism in the Jordan before he did any miracles, before he called the disciple, before the crowds followed him, before he preached the Sermon on the Mount. His affirmation was based on his relationship, not on his doing. And so I think the modern ailments, one of the modern diseases of society is you're worth what you're worth based on what you achieve. And that produces busyness. I think the second thing is we're restless because we're running away from something. That's right. There's things we don't want to face. And so we fill every waking hour of our days and nights because there's deep inner work we don't want to do. We're running away from something, and we hide ourselves or we bury ourselves in just doing. And then we don't create time for reflection or looking in the mirror or self-introspection. And so this is important. Are you restless because you're running away from something? There are things in your inner life that you don't want to face. Are you restless and always busy because your sense of self-worth and value is based on what you achieve? I think the third thing is pride. And this is subtle because pride can often be subtle. We want to show everybody how much we do. You know, I read an article, I think it was in Psychology Today, but don't quote me on that, but I was reading an article on how some people, it's sometimes called, the young people call humble brag. They're always, when they overwork themselves, and in their overworking, they're like, I have so much to do. I'm never done. But they say it out loud in a way as if they don't have a choice in how much things they choose to do. You have a choice how much you put on your plate or how much you say no to. And so let me be clear. Let me be clear, because this is nuanced, right? I think optics, one of its distinctiveness is that it wrestles with nuance. Now, some things are black and white. A lot of things are black and white, but some things are gray and need texture. There are busy seasons in life. When your children are small, they're babies and you're raising them, that's a busy season. You can't opt out of doing your kids' diapers or feeding them, right? And so I'm not talking, or when you have closing the books on your end of year reports in your business. So there are busy seasons in life. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when you and I constantly choose to do, and we don't say no. And somehow after we say yes to all these things, we kind of, in a kind of counterintuitive way, say, oh, I have so much work, and or I can't stop, or I'm in high demand. Well, the power of no is also the power of self-limitation. And to say, I don't need to do that. But sometimes, and this is not always the case, we say yes because our ego is voracious. Our ego needs to be mentioned, needs to be underlined, and somehow busyness is a mark of our greatness. And so pride sometimes leads to our restlessness, running away from things. Sometimes leads to our restlessness, and of course, a sense of achievement or a culture of achievement sometimes leads to our restlessness. Another thing that might lead to our restlessness is that we have a society that encourages it. You may have read the book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, and there's some very good insights in that our culture often prizes and rewards restlessness and busyness. Now, what I mean by restlessness is the capacity of not being able to quiet your soul, your body, your mind, and your emotions. The capacity to not being able to quiet your soul, your body, your mind, and your emotions. That's restlessness. And you might remember that Psalm 23, which is often the most quoted psalm by people, that God leads you by the still waters. And so there's times for running water and rivers, but there's also time for still waters. And could it be, even when you're not working, that you can't quiet your body, your mind, your soul, your emotions? So you're not even working, but you're still thinking about it. You're in bed still working on it. You can't detach from that, because somehow modern society rewards you for always being engaged and not taking time to disengage, to quiet, to still the soul. Have you ever noticed that sometimes, not always, remember this is a nuance show, you can't see God without stillness? Remember when Israel was highly anxious and the Lord tells Moses to tell him, be still and know that I am God. Stillness is a discipline that helps us wrestle against restlessness. This sense of constantly achieving, constantly doing, constantly being affirmed, restlessness, the lack of capacity to sit still, to reflect, to enjoy, to, as St. Augustine and other great writers and the desert mothers and fathers told us, to delight. In one of the faith traditions, they say that the ultimate measure and the ultimate goal of humanity, of man and woman, is to contemplate on God or delight in God and enjoy Him forever. Maybe, just a thought, you can write to me and share your thoughts, because even though it is often me just talking to you, but I welcome the conversation back and forth. maybe delight is an antidote to restlessness. The ultimate measure of humankind is to delight in God and enjoy God forever, to contemplate God's beauty and holiness and kindness and love and mercy. And so, if you're wrestling with restlessness, I think there's some questions you might have to ask yourself. And I'm telling you, I'm sharing this because I have to do it. As the saying goes, preaching to myself. In this case, I'm my own amen corner. Hey, Gabe, amen, Gabe. That's me. It's an inner monologue, a soliloquy of the soul. Can I also trust God that there are things I don't need to do that others will do well or even better than I can? Can I delegate because I know that God has gifted other people, that God has given capacity to other people? Because sometimes restlessness is a product of insecurity that doesn't allow us to delegate, share work, that we lift one another's burdens. I want to talk to you if you're a pastor, if you're a leader, if you're a mom, you're a dad, you're an entrepreneur building a team, a vice president of a company, a manager, or an executive. Are you restless because you're not sure other people can carry the weight? Are you restless because you think only I can do it? I've been listening to I'm going to say it. A lot of political candidates, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, when they say a phrase like, only I can save you. Oh my goodness. Narcissism much? No. There's so many people God has gifted with talents and abilities. Only I can preach. Only I can teach. No. That only I mentality leads to restlessness because we can't delegate and share responsibility. Remember Elijah in the Bible? After he has a great victory on the Mount of Carmel and after he defeats all these false prophets, he goes into a cave because he's being persecuted. And he tells God, he says, I am the only one left. And I imagine God just like laughing, or at least saying, really, Elijah? You're the only one left? I have 7,000 more. And sometimes when we have this complex of we're the only one, it leads to restlessness because we think things won't get done. Look, life is short. No one is eternal. We, on this side of the planet, we have limitations. We might be mindful that those limitations are a gift in a way that lead us to rest. And so part of that challenge is to say, hey, there are other people that God can use. There are other people we can trust with certain projects. Hey, look, there's a lot more to say. I welcome your comments, your questions, your suggestions, your ideas. But I want to thank you for joining us here at Pastor Salguero in Optica, where we're opening our eyes to see what God is doing. And here's one more thing. Take a nap.